All right. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
It's going very well. How's it going with you?
Very well, very well. Thank you for asking.
Thank you
And
for
thank
having
you,
me.
for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come talk with us today. For those of you joining for the first time, my name is Dorian. I'm the host of the Next Gen podcast. And can you give yourself a little introduction and your business as well so people can get to meet you?
Oh, sure. So, Coach Keith, aka Count the Buckets. I usually start the intro. So, I am a basketball shooting trainer. My history of basketball is, I played for varsity high school basketball. I played college basketball, and I played professionally for 3 years. Tech background for about 10 years, but I got back into actually coaching and specifically training within the last around 10 years, and officially made a business within the last few years, and also coach high school basketball at the junior varsity level. I head coach junior varsity basketball. So what I've also implemented in my program is mental health empowerment. I recently have gotten mental health certified with them, mental health community partners as an advocate last summer, just in time, just before I got enrolled into my program at school at Rybrook High School in Rybrook, New York. I help with one-on-one aid with a few of the kids here. I'm assigned to a few kids, and I help out with administration. But it's been a tremendous opportunity to apply the tools that I've learned as a mental health empowerment advocate, combined with student athletes, or just a combination of student athletes, and the importance of mental health. Why did I start Count the Bucket? I think it was just an opportunity to put my best foot forward in my true purpose, dive into what I can do to change the lives of the process and the experience that I've gained through the game of basketball. And the mental health part of it was actually an experience in itself, and I'm able to carry that out and teach my kids the level of performance, helping them reach their true potential as a student athlete, but not just only as a student athlete, but also as an individual themselves. And so what's detailed, what I also talk about in my workshops, is everyone is capable of reaching the highest levels. That's what we've been put here to do. So that's what Count the Bucket is about: reaching your highest potential and obviously being dedicated to your true purpose. And that's pretty much it.
Wow. That was a great intro. that was a clear soundbite.
I've been working on that. No, I'm kidding.
And this is how I know an interview is going to go well, is you sort of like took my first question right off the bat. And that's sort of the origin behind, like the whole brand philosophy and your experience and how it led into that. But can you also talk about, just when the first idea, like when did you know you were going to start getting into this field, specifically with mental health and combining that with like basketball coaching and fitness? Like, what was the transition from I love basketball, avid fan, past player, to now I want to give back to the game. Now I want to, coach the youth.
Well, I was sitting in my office one day, this is right before the pandemic hit. And as to kind of be more specific, I have a tech background I was a user support specialist, and used to manage a lot of different departments. So, and my people skills were already pretty good. And it's mainly one of the reasons why I got hired in that position. And, but at some point I was sitting there like, I need something more, like something that's meaningful and impactful. Of course, I had a trade, it was great. I put that all combined together with what I do. But again, I want to come home and be able to still continue to do what I do. When I used to log off, that was it. I'm home, I'm like, make dinner, and everything is, I'm locked off and checked out of work. But what this is a passion for me. It was, one day I was driving after that thought, and I was really thinking about a few things and my next phase of life. And obviously, basketball was still a part of it. And I was injured at one point back in 2016, so I put on a little weight and I was away for about a year and a half. And then when I got back into it, I was in the routine, and I was like, whoa, I got that feeling. And some kids were coming to me, and they saw the way I shoot the ball, and I was really kind of showing them the details. And, 5 minutes turned into 10 turned into 30, 30 turned into an hour, and before you know it, they were coming to me. I got the parents reached out to me, asking for more advice, and I said, wait a minute, something just clicked off, and there has to be some type of marketing. It has to be some type of other piece that's missing if I'm going to be of service and have it presentable, to others that need the type of service, because that's what we're here to do. And I was driving one day, and the picture just came right in front of my eyes, and I pulled up. I think I actually have a specific day and time. Like, it was like a spring day. I was driving on the Palisades, and right on the riverbank there, I pulled over and I just sketched out the name of whatever came to my head. And, it said, what's in life? Well, sometimes you get hit on the way in life going through your goals. And in basketball, it's called it and one, or they call it count the bucket, or count, and one foul, whatever. So it just clicked, started sketching it. And from then on, it was like, here we go. This is what I need to do. It wasn't like, maybe I'll think about it. No, this is what I need to be doing. And I just started to build it step by step by step. At first, there was no doubt in what I could do. But again, how was I going to get out there? How was I going to market myself? So all those things had to come in play. But that day was one of those days I still remember like it was the back of my head. I still actually on my Instagram have the sketch that I drew out, and then brought it to life with someone that was able to digitally put it out, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you keep doing this. You stole my next question, because I was going to talk to you about the origin of the name and if there's a story behind that. But of course there is, and I think you articulated that super well. That's awesome. Yeah. And now, from these highs, and I'm sure it was great and gratifying to have all these kids like come to you, and parents, and that's sort of like that success. It's very visual to have people like come up and want to have your business. But was it difficult or scary, I guess is even the better word, to actually go in there and get started, to start investing money into yourself and into this business? And I guess the term I'm trying to look for is leap of faith, right? How was taking that leap of faith into your own world of entrepreneurship and business?
Growth, I think, is the number one thing, right? I wasn't taught those skills. I had to actually go through that, that experience of, what did I want to leave behind? Everyone has different says and whatnot, but obviously we all expire at some point in life. What was I going to do as someone that's going to provide a service? And I think for me, it was like, oh, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And what my focus was to really get out to as many people as possible and understand that my service is just straight authentic. They see the passion, they see the relationship that I'm building. And there's one thing that you can't do. You can't fake that. You can't hide that. There's no way you can get into something without loving it with a passion. And anyone could start a business, if they're really good at it, but you can't sell passion. You can't sell passion. So the main thing that I actually, study is just, the psychology part of things, body language, and understanding the value of what it is to make that impact for whether it's a student athlete, a young player, or even an older one that, again, I dive into, older athletes that have become, their own stopping a stop sign just based on their mindset. And that's something I've dived deeper into so that, we all can reach our true potential. Specifically with me, if I wanted to be successful, I had to be a better coach. I had to study and watch film and, look at other, businesses. Of course, everything that's out there, it's been there before, as they all say in history. How was I going to tweak it? What was I going to bring to the table as far as my expertise and as they say, my journey, which is the most important part. They say fall in love with the journey and not the destination. So I've really made it my duty to master little details in what I do, and then build that as part of the entrepreneurship side, right? Because, there has to be a demand for what you have. What do people see when they see Count the Bucket? What do I have? Is there a need for what I have that I can provide that'll help them and more? It's not just about basketball. What else can they, get as value from my services that they can take in the world even after basketball?
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned earlier just, not having sort of the information of starting that business, right? And how you had to fall in love with the journey and all this growth that you had to have. Can you speak a little bit more just to the importance of doing sort of that pre-research? I think, like you said, everybody has that passion. No one's going to go into business about something they're not passionate about, but just the importance of that research. And also, like, what methods of study did you use? Were there was it just YouTube, any mentors that you'd like to shout out, anything of that nature that you'd like to talk about?
Oh man, definitely. I did a deeper dive, definitely through the pandemic. This name might sound familiar, like Phil Handy. He used to be the shooting trainer, development trainer for the Los Angeles Lakers, also Cleveland. He won a couple of championships with them. Guys like Dave Hopla, the shooting expert, the shooter. You have the lethal shooter. Those guys have mastered their craft. But again, I've studied their history, where, how they all started. And I related specifically to Phil Handy. Right now, he's doing stuff all over the world. I actually can literally text him and he'll respond. He's probably one of the only professional trainers that at that level that actually responds within a day or two if I had some questions regarding, his journey. But I listened to a lot of his YouTubes and watched that so I can. Now, of course, during the pandemic, there was a lot of time to watch YouTube. He shared a story regarding his journey, and at the time when I was sent to work from home from my company, I was traveling to clients. So that first year, not the first year, right before the pandemic hit, I started to connect with schools and programs, just reaching out to YMCAs and local community programs, and eventually, obviously other coaches that knew me very well of what I did and accomplished. I built that, and then when the pandemic hit, everything shut down, but parents are still reaching out. So I had to actually do my research on how I can have a platform that they can reach out to me and build, especially if we can't go to the gyms, build online presence, all those different things. And I had a background in technology, so I was able to build something online, the website, have them get access to videos and just small drills and skills, and utilize this service. And that'll market me and set that value pretty much higher. So that was the most important part for me. And I got that from specifically Phil Handy, when he mentioned that he had to drive from city to city to get his name out there, even if it meant sleeping in his car. And, something he mentioned about that, he said one day I thought I was going to get burnt out, but it was the passion and not only the destination, but he said each person that he came across, he was changing their life, and it was all worth it to him. So he didn't really look at what was going to help, he didn't look at anything negative. He just looked at, hey, this is why I'm here. I'm providing a service. This is my calling. And once I watched that video, I said, I knew this is what I was supposed to be doing. Let's roll the dice. Let's take a sacrifice and what I'm supposed to be doing here. So it was all in and nothing. And, here I am today talking with you, sharing my story. And, I'm going to continue to build it and change as many lives as possible. So that was my life-changing experience there with watching Phil Handy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And talk to me a little bit about, just the first big challenges of starting your business. I mean, you've grown this into this awesome, successful brand, but I'm sure it wasn't like all sunshine and rainbows on this path. So can you talk to me about some of those first, hurdles that you had to overcome, and what did they teach you, not only about the business, but about yourself as a business leader?
Oh, I'll tell you this, right? And again, those same things I was explaining to you about me as an individual, those things are what we're taught. And I had to get out my comfort zone pretty much, especially since I had a professional background also. So I was able to invest a little bit of that into my business. And when I walked away from that business, I, again, got comfortable, and I would say I would just feed my brand and, pay for, certain tournaments and help with those that didn't have it financially. And I, helped out with that as well. But weeks and months will go by, and I was actually not prepared to, if I needed to dabble into the savings and get a little, get a little crazy with, well, I wouldn't say get a little crazy, but I would more specifically say be financially smart with growing a business. What's my business plan? What are my goals? Do I have a 5-year plan, 3-year plan, all those different things? Again, those are things I had to do research on and build, and, marketing, that was a scary part, because it was all things that I didn't know. Of course, I know what I'm doing as far as skill-wise, and, I can take anybody to court and teach them how to shoot within a couple of hours or less, within 5 minutes. But again, the business aspect of it is word of mouth, repetition, integrity, just, again, money flow and taxes and all those different things, and right, and just terminologies that again, it's something that I had to make sure I took the time to master. And when I say master, another person that I watch on YouTube is Myron Golden, and he talks about the little things, right? When you have a purpose, you got to feed that purpose. You have to water it and watch it grow. And it's something that we are able to do as long as we put the time and effort into it. And then what happens is you gain the confidence of being able to have a conversation, how to build a one-sheeter or a portfolio, or just something that will present itself to maybe investors that'll say, oh, you have a business plan over some time, or a business account that'll show that you actually have a business. All those things matter. And then it'll say, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, or he's in steps of growing this business. So all of those things gave me the confidence and the the drive to continue to push. And again, it's there's levels to things, and that was a point where it's like, wow, some people might not be I would say not turned off, but a little discouraged, because it's so much work, and then that's the part of the journey also, where it's like a mental aspect of things. How much are you willing to sacrifice to put that work in? And there's a lot of distractions out there, and we want to compare ourselves to programs. But I had to literally tell myself and write it down and say, you are you. You only have a certain DNA for you. You are projected to do this with your business. No one else is projected to do what you do. So be great at it and put time in it, and it'll grow.
Right. I love that. I appreciate just how honest you are with that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's not easy to talk about, just sort of those early days, and I'm sure that there's still trials to come and trials currently happening. But I think that the mindset that you put forward to it is really important for people to hear, because it can really seem so desperate and so desolate at times, really. But I think just that motivation and self-confidence are really just the two key things that I got from what you said there. So to move out of that dark side, I feel like I gave you the hard-hitting question. So now I'm to bring it back to a more positive can you tell me about just count the basket and break down all of the services that you provide, and also sort of what services do you provide that other perhaps coaching camps or coaches online wouldn't provide? What separates your brand from others?
I think so. Just to add in, to throw it in a little bit, I recently won a celebrity charity 3-point contest. So I want my brand to stick out to individuals that think that they couldn't make it. I'm not all here for the 5-star. Of course, I would not turn down working with some really good athletes, but there's a large number and a large market of players that didn't get looked at. We can name a few. The Portland Trail Blazers guard. You have guys that are under the radar, like Lonzo Ball is a little under the radar. You have certain athletes that are driven by that, like doubt. They get doubted. I was one of those athletes where it's like I didn't understand plays. I wasn't taught that in high school. So that battle again, we're going back on that side, was a drive to say, how much did I want this? So my market is to create a program, or I have created a program where, certain players may be weak in a lot of different departments, but I have a program that lays out each steps that they're going to take to get to that next level. But first, it's going to take a mindset to get there, to build the confidence. So whatever they learn, they're going to break it down into little pieces, master those little pieces, even though it's hard, right? I'm going to start out saying, hey, if you're not able to go through this small process, right, you're going to have to go through another step back and mentally prepare yourself and ask yourself, am I ready for this? What are the goals? What do I want? So what that entails is helping them with things outside of life too. So I want them to know that this is going to round yourself up into an individual that's confident. You can build a life on this, whether you play professionally or not. So that's the difference with my program. It's going to help you build confidence, and there's a lot of peer pressure with certain things. You're not trying to prove something to anyone. You're providing a service. And parents, again, that's also a big market to them as well. I want my kids to be successful. What can I provide to them that I'm comfortable and I can rely on? You as a coach, right? Again, that's their pride and joy. That's their first love. That's everything to them. That's why they do what they do. That's their livelihood. I take that to dear. That's the pride that I have within my services, to make sure that they can get everything along that list of Count the Bucket basketball. They're getting not just training, they're getting life skills, they're building confidence, they're understanding how to be a leader, taking charge, building principles, building some type of system so that they can understand what distractions are, and whatever anyone else says, it doesn't matter. They can't compete with anyone else. They only can compete with themselves in order to build that type of player that they want to be. And most importantly, understanding their type of role. And if you don't know, obviously you may know there's roles in the company, and some people may not know that role. They might want to step on others' toes, and sometimes it gets rubbed the wrong way. But no matter what level you get to, someone will always try to take you down. You can't let that be a distraction or anything to defer you from reaching your goals or your true potential. Because with my business and what my mission statement is, to make sure that when you first come in here is to help you reach that true potential. There's nothing that says that you cannot reach your true potential. So that's what Count the Bucket stands out to me.
Mental health in the game. So many players have come out. Just off the top of my head, it's like Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, John Wall, even this Michael Beasley conversations that are happening right now. He just had that big sit down with in that podcast and just like talk about where he's at mentally and how the game affected him. How do you propose that coaches and players and really anyone who's in the athletics game goes about and talks with mental health among like other players with their coach? How do you propose that this just is more of a normal thing that we talk about in the game? Because it seems like for so many young men, like it's emotions like bottled up, and it's not something that they feel super comfortable talking about. And there's all these, stigmas about being an athlete and what being a man or being, just a strong person is. How do you propose we bring these sort of mental health conversations to light and make it normalized, especially within the sphere of athletics?
Numbers. And just as you pointed that out, numbers don't lie, right? We can go down in the analytics and we can say, hey, most people might be afraid of discussing certain issues that they may have going through the process. Let's take it there, right? There's we might see people smiling every day as a couple or a married couple. we have no idea what's going on behind those walls that they may be scared to share or maybe embarrassed to talk about. They want to only show you the glamour, right, of their relationship, so that everything they might seem okay. Instagram, right? Most posts and reels will show the glamour and whatnot, but sometimes it may not be like that behind the scenes, right? But they're not going to show when you're down and out. And we all sometimes, or most, and I will never speak for others, I can only speak for what I have experienced myself. I'm not afraid to have that talk, because emotional intelligence and control is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing in our society today. As you can see, we don't understand that. Our first thing that comes to mind is when our blood starts pumping in. We just don't know how to we don't know how to take a breath. We just acting off emotion, and those emotions can cost us sometimes. How does that relate into the sport of basketball? It's a mental game. It's 90% mental, 10% physical. We all know freaks of nature that enter the game, right? That can dunk over anybody, shoot over anybody. But the mental part of it is, how great can I be? Will I take that last shot? What am I thinking when I shoot the ball? All those different things is a part of the mental, right? And again, playing that role. So it's highly important. Some may not want to talk about it because they think it's just a pushover, or they may not have the time. I get sent a lot of my clients and kids because some coaches don't have the time or the patience to go through it. I got the time because, again, I know my calling. I've dedicated my livelihood to it, and I see the importance of it.
And, just a constant theme that we've been having on this show recently is just representation, right? And the importance of representation and standing up for things that aren't exactly talked about or treated equally in society. So do you ever take the time just to sort of reflect on your work and like what you do? I think from what you've said, you've done a lot of like reflection in terms of like the business and the brand, but just on a personal note, just like what you're providing for these people, for especially like kids who are just starting to get into the game, like you mentioned, aren't 5-star recruits and just are people who love the game of basketball. Do you ever just take the time to sit and reflect on just the importance of what you're doing and the impact that you're making on these kids' lives?
It hit me, to be realistic with you, to be honest with you, to be better. Every day I wake up is another day to do, God's work, right? And I believe that I'll be blessed if I'm pouring into my purpose. And that's what sticks with me every single day. And I'm looking at things and how I could be better. I can't say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I know I'll have flaws. I know, right? I'll be short on some things. I can tweak certain things, even at the highest level. Things to be great one year, but then how can I still improve on that as an individual? And once you notice those things, and again, currently working on that myself as we speak, but just recognizing that allows me to pour more into my service. And I wouldn't say my service, our service, because they're our kids, they're our future. So what is it going to help them turn that corner? And I'll take a list of things. I ask for replies, I ask for feedback. Anything that they can tell me that's coming from their child that, hey, I missed something, or did you see this today? Maybe he wasn't in the right mood, or he had some questions, or someone else made him feel a certain way because he's not as good as this person. All those different things come along the line. So I make sure that I fill all those blanks and cross those T's and dot those I's when they're ready for those questions, so that they're saying, wow, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And sometimes it just takes one conversation for someone to turn that corner. It happened for me, so I know I can do it for others, and eventually build a team that has the same passion as what I do. Because it's definitely obvious that some people are actually gifted in what they do, but they may not be passionate. It may be a great living for them. Basketball, I still play basketball for free. Yes, I got paid at one point, but I love the game so much that I'm now giving back to those that want to, and again, I'm privileged enough to see the types of levels. And even recently, it's like, wow, there's so many things that need to be added into the journey in the realm of development, and not just the physical, but the mindset and the psychology part of the game that needs to be built and really paid attention to. So, I look at that every single day, honestly, and it's helped me grow.
You talk about, also the importance of advertising, right? And branding. You mentioned earlier, like Lethal Shooter, guys like Chris Brickley, all these like famous like Instagram coaches who have made a huge following on there from like showing clips of like in their gym and their workouts and stuff. Can you talk a little bit more just about the importance of advertising, and also what does your personal advertising brand look like?
The importance of it is, again, what are you selling, right? I teach that in my skills, in my training. What are you selling? And again, to circle back to Myron Golden, do we have to sell? We don't have to sell because you're it. They need you, right? So you shouldn't have to sell. They shouldn't have to sell anything. So, with that, I had to realize, okay, if I'm building my brand, there's nothing that I have to worry about. It'll sell itself. And putting that into marketing and putting that into my skill set, and actually keywords also are a big factor when it comes to certain trainings, right? And the parents already know. They already know what they need. So do you have what they need for you to provide to them? So once they see that in your program, it's already done. So once they see you, and it's been a privilege to be able to come across, certain business gurus such as Myron Golden. I was able to really define what it is that I can do in my trainings and just discuss a small detail. I actually learned that to go a little further back. I was a walk-on at Long Island University, CW Post, Brookfield, Long Island. God rest his soul, my coach, Tom Galizia, gave me a shot. And, before I even got there, I was not as developed, organized basketball-wise. Of course, was a great shooter and athletic, but it came to a lot of different details, terminologies within the game, film, and understand what it be, placement, timing, change of speed, just all those different things, obviously defense. And those things applied to everything. And I remember we were huddled up, and after practice, he said, look around you, look at the guys around you. And he simply said, it's a privilege to be standing around these players and us, because there's not many that can play that role. There was plenty of players at my college that could have played at a high level, but it's a privilege to actually play college basketball and play at that next level, because not many can do that. Not many can endure the process of the journey. So I'm able to take those details and that information that I received and package that into my services. So that's what I think is most important, and when I'm able to market out and draw the traffic to build a successful business in basketball.
And so we've looked at the beginning, Count the Bucket. We've sort of looked like the modern day. Now we're going to look into the future. Where do you see Count the Bucket within the next 5, 10, 15, whatever years?
Oh, we're worldwide. We're changing lives all over the globe. I love to travel. I love to see different cultures that love the game of basketball. And I see some players that have no shoes. Oh my goodness! Like, it'd be great to go out there and play one-on-one with them and just show them a little tips and have a translator right there. I'll invest into learning the language as well. But traveling the world and impacting around the world, and so that they can repeat those steps. It is an international sport. It's been globalized since Michael Jordan's been around. So that's a dream come true for me. That's the goal in the next 5 years, to be honest.
Are there any new, sort of products or collaborations, anything like behind the scenes that you're sort of been working on over the past X amount of years that you want to introduce into your company that are coming soon?
Well, definitely Count the Bucket apparel is coming soon. Definitely looking at some sponsorships that's going to pop up eventually, or actually working on that currently. Actually behind the scenes right now. So once it's actually official, I definitely pop out with that. But definitely, putting Count the Bucket on there, and actually during that celebrity shootout was awesome to be able to put the name on the platform and show the people out there that, hey, not everybody was too happy. They thought they were going to come out with a prize. I popped up out of nowhere and took the throne. So it was good to be able to come out there and showcase that. And so putting that out there and partnering up with brands like Nike possibly, or Adidas and those big brands would be great.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, what is your ultimate vision and goal for not only like your entrepreneurship journey, your basketball journey, but for your like personal legacy? Like, what impact do you want to leave in the game?
I want them to say, wow, I've gotten the best advice, from Coach Keith. I still have some players now that first came to me fresh at the box. I like to call it get started. And when they see that get started sign, when they just open the box and to see them just evolve and love the game, I want them to come back and say, wow, this is a little piece of advice helped me in life, not just in basketball, but in life. And again, even as they get older, help them as a coach, help them build a brand, help them how to communicate and network and build on that. So I think it's super important to be able to have something to look forward to. I didn't have this type of opportunity, or maybe a little bit, but it definitely wasn't a voice when I was in the corporate world. So now I'm speaking on behalf of myself and others that are on my team. I think it's just something that just pushed chills down my spine, just being able to be in this position, because eventually at one point I didn't envision that, and now it's manifesting.
And this is sort of the last big question I have for you here is, what is your all-time favorite or most fun or most rewarding moment that you've had thus far from your career?
Most rewarding, I got a message from one of my players. He is actually not going to play college ball, but it was from not the player, from the mom. I was sent to him from another player, another coach that could not. I might have posted it on my Instagram. He wasn't able to play on another colleagues of mine I used to play basketball with. He has a program, huge program, but he just couldn't take he didn't have the capacity. So he had asked me to coach him 10th grade. He was really, he needed a lot of work and time to build upon that. But also, again, it came down to his confidence and trying to compare himself to the other players. And over time, he eventually just kept working on his little details. I was able to teach him, and one game he exploded for 30 points. I still actually have one of those videos on my Instagram, and that was really something that he would never forget. And after his senior year, I think this year was his senior year, his mom wrote me a message, and she just wrote me, it was, I'm not gonna lie, I really got a little emotional, because we don't know the impact we have on someone until they really come back to you and just say, hey, coach, that time that you spent with me for 10 minutes changed my life, or that little conversation you told me about not worrying about distractions, not worrying about others really getting down on me because I'm not as good as them, really changed my life and helped me to be myself. And she had mentioned that his confidence in helping him grow, and now he has a girlfriend going off to college, and I was able to give that confidence and that swag. But other than that, that's the goal, and he's going to be able to move on with life, and he's got a lot of tools from basketball. I think that was one of the greatest, one of the satisfying moments to hear. And again, that's also something that will propel me to continue to do what I do.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I have for you question-wise today. Do you want to, give any quick shout-outs or tell us where we can find you on social medias and your website and whatnot?
Yeah, well, shout out to Faith and Grind for sure. He was the first coach I saw when I just started out, first day coaching and starting to build my relationship with. You can find him on Instagram. I definitely shout him out. He sent me a lot of players, other coaches as well, Pat Farm, Air One, all those guys that paved the way for me. I know to look up to them as well. So again, Coach Keith here, Count the Bucket. You can find me on Instagram at Count the Bucket Basketball. You can also go to my website at www.countthebuckets.net or https://countthebuckets.net. If you want to send me an email, info@countthebuckets.net or keith.drysdale@countthebuckets.net.
I like it. You got that memorized for sure. Memorizing all HTTPS is crazy. I was like, no way he's about to recite that.
I did that. Well, as a cheating, I was a tech background, so it's much easier to say to talk about. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
Time to talk with us today. I really appreciate just how honest and thoughtful your answers were. I love the idea for your business. I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan myself, so
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I hope you have a great day, and I wish you the best in all future endeavors, both business, basketball, everything related.